Welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast, now part of the Work Defined Podcast Network. Join us as we explore the vital role of compensation, strategy, data, and people analytics in navigating today's complex business world. With the resources of Work Defined, we're now bringing you deeper insights and actionable ideas from top experts. Now, here is your host, David Turetsky.
Hello, I am your host, David Turetsky, and welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast. And I'm here with my brilliant friend, Chris Russell. Chris, how are you today?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good. It's sunny out finally, and after 3 days of rain here in the Northeast, I'm looking forward to getting outside later today.
Yeah, let's talk about a Memorial Day weekend that is absolutely full of rain every single day, except for yesterday when it was 71 degrees and brilliantly sunny in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was like, two and a half days of straight rain. It was not fun.
Straight rain. Not even a break. Not a break for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
In Sugarloaf, we actually had a spring festival where there were a bunch of vendors on the street and they closed off the entire village for the spring festival. And I felt bad and I walked the village and bought as much as I could, but there's only so many pickles you can buy. and everything was soggy, but how to go out and support them.
Yep.
So, Chris, let's talk about what's going on in the world of Chris Russell today. How you doing? Everything okay?
Yeah, I just got back from a Florida trip last week, doing some e-bike stuff. That's my side hobby, so that was fun. And looking forward to summer of content creation here for RegTech Media. So
awesome.
Stuff in the
and we'll put a link to RegTech in the show notes as well, so people can listen to the brilliance that is Chris Russell. Yeah. Before we do get into our topic for today, which is going to be a fun one, which is what is on the brilliant mind of Chris Russell. What's one fun thing that no one knows about Chris Russell other than the e-bike hobby?
Other than the e-bike hobby, let's see.
You already gave that one.
Yeah, I know. I can't do that one again. I mean, I just do e-biking and I do this stuff, so it's hard. It's hard to pick one. Let's see. A fun fact about me. Gosh, I mean, I used to kayak a lot. I've gone hiking as well.
There you go.
I did a hike with Jeff Dickey Chasins, used to be called the job board doctor. So he moved to Connecticut recently. So he and I met last weekend actually for a hike up in New Haven there on the West Rock, and had a great time looking at the cliffs over there and stuff. So I do like hiking.
That's cool. Do you take a lot of pictures when you hike?
What's that?
Do you take a lot of pictures when you hike, or is it just a
few
away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually I try and go a hike that has like a view or something, or a cliff or a lake or something like that, so something to look forward to.
Yeah. When I've gone on hikes, I've always tried to take as breathtaking pictures as I can because I love memorializing those things. And I look back and I go, wow, that was really neat. I got to go do that again.
Yeah.
And then
I got my TV, I got the Amazon photos, so they pop up as like a screen.
Yeah.
So that's good. Cool.
That's really cool. All right. Well, Chris, thank you for that awesome tidbit about you. What we're going to do is we'll do a break and then we'll go into our topic of what's the brilliant stuff going on in Chris Russell's mind.
All right.
So, Chris, you floated a few ideas before we started recording, and one of the ones that we had talked about was that in the world of recruiting technology, there's really a lot of stuff going on. We tend to think of recruiting technology as really more on the side of the employer, but on the job boards, there's a lot going on, isn't there? I mean, there's a lot of really hot action going on, and a lot of people are upset, pissed, whatever, however you want to describe it. What is going on in the world of job boards?
Yeah, I just got back from the TA Tech conference, which is basically where most of the job marketplaces go to meet every year here in the U.S. And there's a couple of things going on. There's a lot of them are struggling. So the sort of what I call the B players in online job search, people like ZipRecruiter, Jobcase, those folks. Jobcase just let go of their CEO, Fred Goff. They're down about 30 people now. They're just becoming basically this arbitrage, buy and sell job traffic company, so they've been struggling. They had big ambitions, 5 years ago when they got $100 million in funding. And this last couple of years of just slow hire environment has really taken a toll on a lot of these sites, even ZipRecruiter and Indeed as well, although Indeed is now up again. But they're the other big story in the market where they're really starting to piss off a lot of their client base with their new pricing models and all these silly rules they have. They want the data now, so they want all the disposition data from employers. Yeah. And so they're really sticking their hands in like every piece of HR data that they want to. And they're getting away with it because they're really the only game in town now. And that's kind of where we are these days. Like it's, Indeed and LinkedIn get 80% of the job ad spend these days when it comes to employers, and they're just throwing their weight around. They don't care about the employer anymore. They're making it harder in a sense for companies to do business with them, which that's not a good way to operate, I think,
No. Well, let me ask you a stupid question, because I'm not an expert in TA, nor am I an expert in the job boards. But you got to imagine that with the way the economy is, there's a lot of people out looking for roles. There are a lot of roles, and there are always too many people looking for a job. And the competitive market is really, really hot, still really hot. Is it the fact that there aren't real jobs? I mean, that people are looking, or that companies are just looking to fill their pipelines? Or is it that they're just being really choosy about the ones that they pick? Or is it just a general slowdown in the economy?
Well, part of the jobs of frustration is that there's so many applies now that I think Greenhouse just had a stat where it was something like the average job now gets like 240 applications. I think that's up from like 120 or something just a couple of years ago. So the influx of applications is really causing just more of a black hole out there for the seekers. It's become a big frustration. The other part is, a lot of employers still value quantity over quality, meaning they want to get as many applications in as possible, which doesn't really help the job seeker, right? They should be filtering those applications much more at the top of the funnel and, and dispositioning those people who they're not going to hire right away. And so that's
how about dispositioning them? I mean, do they just give the blanket 5 seconds later? Sorry,
at the very least, just like say no, right?
Right.
I don't know why companies have a hard time saying no to somebody. Like, and that's all the job seeker want. Like, give me a yes or no. Like, let me know as soon as possible.
Right.
Right. Because I'm applying to, 200 jobs a month. Right. Let me know as soon as possible. That's what job seekers want, and employers are not giving that still. I mean, some employers do, but the vast majority of employers just don't care about that part of the job search experience. And I wish
the concept of ghosting has become, I guess, normal now for us in the job seeking world.
Yeah. And now the job seekers are doing it too, because they've been ghosted for so long. Now you're hearing stories about that as well, but people not showing up on day one or whatever. So
wow.
It's
well, I mean, in the market
crazy
that we're in, I can't imagine if you actually get a response from someone that's not, well, we've reviewed your really amazing credentials and ... I can't imagine getting an interview and not going on it, given where we are in the market. I mean, there's some people on LinkedIn who are literally saying, listen, I've been out of work for 2.5 years now, and I'm at my end, and I don't know what to do. Please, somebody help me.
Yeah.
And I've never seen that level of desperation before in mass as I have now.
Yeah. And I think AI can solve some of these problems, David, whether it's an AI interview process, because you can do that with every employee every person that applies or comes in, interview them right away now.
Right.
And I'm like, why not do that? Like yes, it's AI doing it, right? That's the negative, but at least you're getting in the door for the seeker.
Right.
You're filtering them a little bit, right? So if I were a company today, I would just interview everyone through AI, not call it an apply yet. Once you pass that screen, then become an applicant.
Right.
You say you reject the rest as soon as they do that interview, or maybe, you set it so it's like, a few hours after or whatever. So it's not like, whatever. But yeah, do it that way. And at least you're telling them right up front what's going to happen, and you're just making it much more quicker and much more transparent.
Sure.
Because that's what's lacking these days.
Or giving someone something that they really desperately need right now, which is closure.
Yeah.
Right. Sending one of these resumes out into the ether.
And that doesn't cost the employer anything. Like, it's just it's a part of the workflow. Like, just create it. Like, the tech is there to solve it. There's tech exists that can do this. But it pulls I've been doing this for 25 years and talking about this resume black hole forever, and it's never gotten better. But I see a light at the end of the tunnel anyway with AI that can actually do this and get rid of ghosting altogether, right? And being transparent and being upfront and doing the interview right away. It's, and I'll give credit to, companies like Greenhouse. They're starting to think about the job seeker more, like with their dream job they have on there. And they're now kind of sort of vetting employers as well in their systems, as far as how quickly they respond to candidates, stuff like that. So they're giving like badges, things around that. So I'm starting to see some of that from the vendor side of things, which is great.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's got to come from the employer in terms of that wants to actually make a difference there in that candidate experience.
Well, going back to the concept you were talking about at the beginning of the problems that job boards are having right now. And I guess the question that's on my mind with that is it a fundamental business problem with what they're trying to do? Is it the economy? Is it the job market that the employers are working on right now? Is it that the employers are trying to figure out whether AI can actually do a lot of this work before they actually go and hire? What's the slowdown caused by? And are we going to all of a sudden wake up one day and go, oh crap, we need a bunch of people, and then they've already pissed off so many people from the way they're doing interviewing right now, or the way they're doing posting right now, that it's not going to change.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Well, I think the slowdown is a couple of factors. It's the uncertainty in the overall economy right now, with tariffs, with wars, with all that crap. And they also overhired during COVID, the COVID era.
Yeah.
Well, but there's a new sort of mantra, it seems like, among employers, which is slow hire. Was it slow hire, slow fire, something like that? Or low hire, slow. I forget the acronym now, but something like that. But they're doing more with less these days. That seems to be the mantra they're going out with from a job advertising perspective. And they're also seeing that the results are coming in from the secondary job boards, kind of dwarf what they can get off Indeed and LinkedIn. So I guess they're putting more eggs in one basket, essentially.
Sure.
From when they used to spread it around more. There are things like programmatic, and all the ad agencies have that to use as a tool, and that's certainly useful. But the bulk of the spend still goes to sites like Indeed. But
is there going to be a reconciliation like we had many years ago with Monster, where those secondary boards or another source come in and overtake the market like Indeed and LinkedIn did? Gosh, how many years ago is that? Maybe 10 years?
It's like 20 years old at this point now.
Wow.
But I think the failure, especially like I said, like a ZipRecruiter, which I always point to, like they were sort of the number 2, behind Indeed, right? In terms of market share, brand awareness. And they've kind of just faltered in their efforts to be that buffer against Indeed's power, right? They just didn't take advantage of Indeed's missteps. Like, where were they when Indeed came out with that 72-hour resume rule or application rule where you had to review the resumes within 72 hours? That's just creating a burden on the TA team there.
Sure.
Like, take advantage of that. Like, come to market with a product that doesn't require that. Launch a transparent anti-pay per application campaign. Rebuild your ecosystem. There's so many things ZipRecruiter could be doing to take advantage of all this, just in the pricing model. Like, be transparent. Like, if I were a ZipRecruiter today, I'd say, look, because Indeed now you can't buy any, there's no organic free traffic anymore. I say, look, ZipRecruiter, here's free organic traffic, pay to sponsor your job. Very simple, transparent pricing. Like, do that. But they haven't done any of that stuff. And it's pulling my hair out, what I have left. About, God, because we need a buffer. We need other sites to become a buffer for the Indeeds of the world. because it creates more balance in the marketplace. And I've been hot after these guys for not doing that. So it's disappointing.
Is it because of funding? Is it because of the economy? What could possibly be the reason why? They spend a lot of money on advertisements.
Yeah, ZipRecruiter is a shell of what it once was. I mean, they were that $800 million company at one point. Now they're like, I don't know, $200, $250 million a year. Mm-hmm. So they've really come along. They also have a lot of debt on their books. So that doesn't help. So I don't know if they have any money to invest in the product at all. It doesn't seem like it because they're not coming out with anything new. Indeed's got they've made all kinds of acquisitions over the years, whether it's video interviews or stuff like that. They bought resume.com at one point, I think, right? So they just haven't taken that. They bought it simply hired and just basically reused it for the traffic, So none of these players have taken advantage of that. I will say, like, JobGets is doing some good stuff. They bought Snag a Job. They bought some sort of second-tier job boards, and they're expanding their marketplace. So they've been kind of aggressive in that respect. But yeah, it's a tough place these days. The economy doesn't help either. So
no. But is it white-collar jobs? Is it blue-collar jobs? What is the main ask these days? Because we've seen a ton of hiring in the blue-collar side, right? Non-exempt roles are still as hot as they've ever been, and there's still tons of turnover there. So is it that those types of jobs just aren't bringing in the cash, or is it that they normally rely on the white-collar types of jobs for much of their traffic?
Yeah, healthcare. Thank God for healthcare, right? If it wasn't for healthcare jobs and the healthcare job market overall, which is the number one job market in the U.S., like it's the one that's always growing.
Sure.
It's the one that always spends the most money on ads. Like, if it wasn't for that, like every HR tech vendor and/or job board would be hurting right now because they're kind of keeping everything afloat right now from a client perspective, right? And if you ask any HR vendor, like most of them, like HR or healthcare clients are their main, paying customers. So that's one. I think the blue collar stuff is still there. I think it's getting harder too for the big challenge of running any job board today is getting traffic, right? So you have to attract traffic, and that's getting harder these days. It's harder today to get a job to come to your site, post a resume, sign up for a job alert than it ever has been, just because everyone's so stretched for attention. I mean, getting them to come to convert to your site, whether it's an email address or signing up as a resume and stuff like that is very hard these days. So it really takes a lot to convert them. And that's another reason why it's difficult.
Well, if you go on the conversion side, spending a couple minutes talking about the craziness that is the application process. When I was first looking for a job, when I had lost my job in December, I spent as much time signing up on as many Workday clients, one after another, and just doing the exact same thing. I got so good at it, I thought maybe I should just put up my shingle for Workday onboarding or Workday applicant tracking. But it was just awful. I had to do the exact same thing over and over again. And at one point I was like, you know what? This is bullshit. I don't know why I keep doing this, because it goes into a black hole that is Workday. And yes, of course, it's another separate instance of Workday, right? So it's not just, but you get to that page and if you're not an HR person, you're not a HR technologist like we both are, and you go to those pages and you're signing up, you're like, what the hell? I've done this a million times. Why do I have to do this yet again?
Yeah.
To me, that experience was just, it was awful.
And it still happens today. To me, there's no excuse for that. Like, it's just like, and, the excuse is that, the companies are stuck with these systems in place and they can't change. So I'd feel for a lot of those TA folks out there who are in that situation where, we've got this software. They know it doesn't work properly. They know that the candidate experience is bad, but their hands are tied. They have no way of, bringing a new system. And that change management is painful. Bringing in a new TS is one of the most bad problems you could have from a TA perspective, because it's not fun. It takes forever. It's like 6 months to a year, a lot of these big companies, and there's a lot of processes and pain involved with that switch. So I feel for them, but do what you can to make that candidate experience faster and more easier.
But getting back to the point you had made before of the person finally finds a job that's in their ballpark. That's in, first of all, it's got the compensation range they know is the right compensation range for them. It's got all the experience that they have. They're ready to apply. They go to the site. They go from the Indeed or from the ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn. They go to the website and they take 4 steps back because they have to enter all this shit again that is already in LinkedIn. It's already in the resume. The resume parsing still sucks in 2026. So we'll have to correct everything in the resume again. You go through and you're like, I don't want to put in every single thing I did. It's in my resume. You asked for my resume. You got my resume. Why do I have to? So you're getting through that process, Chris, and we're so pissed off that this is the 150th time we've done it. And the experience of the recruiter, to your point, they're going to get crap. Now, I don't know on the other end whether or not they actually look at the resume or they just look at the crap that someone puts in on the, on Workday or on whatever system it is that parses all this data and puts it into their data structure. But to me, that just kills the process. And you've gotten all the way to getting that potential, meeting of the minds of the person and their job and their potential. And then it just drops. It's just, sorry, I don't mean to keep rolling about this.
No, it's a massive problem. I think the holy grail of solving that, though, David, is every job seeker, and this is where I think things are headed eventually, maybe in like 10 years, maybe hopefully sooner, but everyone has their own AI agent that can do that for them. Right? That's where everybody's talking about now in terms of the future.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have your own AI agent at some point. I don't know whether that's not going to be next year or the year after, maybe 5 to 10 years down the road, where you probably have to pay for it too, probably.
Yeah, of course.
It's not going to be free.
A lot of credits.
Yeah. But that AI agent will be able to act on your behalf to, it'll say, hey, Chris, you want to apply for this job? It just popped up. You just say yes, and it does the rest, right? That's like the holy grail of job seeking, I think.
Yeah, but it'll also hallucinate and tell you got the job, and then you show up from day one, and they didn't even hire you because they didn't even know you existed.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
but the one part of that, which we haven't gotten anywhere near AI in this conversation yet, is that, with all of the things going on in the world of Workday and also the other potential litigation or the other litigation that's happening, Eightfold, that there's a lot of regulations that still haven't caught up with where the technology is today. And so one of the concerns that I have with this is, where are we with regulation in the world of applicant tracking and AI? And is there going to be anything, certainly not on a federal level, but on state level, that's going to concern you with this?
Maybe in Europe, but Europe is basically much more aggressive when it comes to this stuff. So that's number one.
But California to an extent as well.
Yeah.
California's put out some regulations, or at least they've started to put out some regulations around what can you calculate on someone's behalf, or what can you do with the data.
Yeah. On a federal level, because of the current administration, I don't see any kind of, massive, enforcement of anything right now anyway. So.
But we're rolling back all the worker protections anyway. So, it's still a Wild West.
So it's like, for the next couple of years, it's going to be status quo as far as all this goes.
Well,
we'll see.
And do you think that AI is going to be able to be, I can't even get it to tell me the weather correctly. So is it actually going to be something? And I've got an NVIDIA DGX Spark supercomputer sitting on my desk. So I'm talking at both sides of my face here. But is AI really the answer here for job seekers?
I think it can be, right? It just depends on how we do this here. And, the problem with job seekers is that they have no advocate in this. They have no, dog in the fight for them, right? So I'm going to be curious to see how this shakes out. It's going to be up to the vendors to create this for them. So we'll have to see, because vendors don't think typically from the candidate standpoint when they create something. They're thinking about the employers who pay for that software. So, but some will come up with this system, I'm seeing glimpses of it here and there now, but you've got all these lazy applies and all these these new crop of like job search tools that come from the job seeker pays, things like that, right? So that's a new trend I'm seeing. So one of those players is going to come out with this and come out with an agent for you, and that's really going to work one day. But not holding my breath right now. I think it's a few years away at least. And and also HR is hard to change too. Like their their behavior, right? So
Right.
again, because they're stuck with certain systems, like this is going to be a long slog of just introducing AI into the hiring process. So this is going to take the next 10 years for AI to really sort of embed itself into everything HR and TA does. That's my opinion, right? Because I've been in this space for a long time. It just takes time for this stuff to evolve, and it's not going to happen overnight for sure. So it's going to be a slow, gradual incline into the world of AI and hiring.
Well, with the advent of pay transparency, making it easier for someone to choose which job is right for them, given their compensation levels and things like that, one would hope that AI would take care of the other pieces of, because the information is available to you, is what I'm saying, or a lot more information is available to you. Going back to our original conversation around the job boards, do you think that the job board that it influences the world of AI to kind of bring all comers, bring all the candidates, do you think that's one that might win the day if it becomes more job seeker friendly instead of being more employer friendly?
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's, job seekers will gravitate to something like that pretty quickly, so because like jobs are everywhere now. So it's easy to start a job board, any kind of job search tool. You can go and buy job data from any of the numerous number of aggregators out there that collect that stuff. And so if you could take that data and turn it into a really good job search experience, yes, I think that's where Indeed is vulnerable there in that respect. So we shall see.
So if there are any venture capitalists or private equity that are listening to this, call Chris and myself, and we're going to help you design that solution.
Yes.
Call WhatTech Media right away and get on Chris's calendar.
Yeah, it's an interesting world, man. I've been doing this for 25 years and seen all kinds of evolutions here. And this is definitely the next evolution of this process. Pretty excited to see what happens next, David,
I got to be honest with you, Chris. From a job seeker perspective, I can't remember a time that's scarier because of...
scary and exciting, yes.
Yeah, scary. But if it was, sort of Damocles hanging over your head that you're going to lose your job, and that God forbid you do, and you look at the world of employment right now, and the world of employment looks the way it does with all to that statistic you mentioned before about the number of people applying to a rec on average, I would just be totally scared about losing my job and therefore entrench even deeper. Engagement levels go up dramatically when that happens. I'm being facetious, but I don't remember a time where people were as worried about their roles as right now, especially with the way artificial intelligence is being talked about by these CEOs as being, you get one CEO comes out and says AI is the next coming, and then you get somebody from like the CEO of NVIDIA going, it's not the next coming. It's we still need good people.
Yeah, and I'm in that camp. Like I think that it's there to help you and assist you and make yourself more productive, and it's going to allow companies to really put the human to other uses. Like I could see, where you're going to have these like human-facing companies that actually pride themselves on having humans in the AI era. Whenever we get there, right? So there's going to be companies like that where that human experience is still part of it. I remember that movie Her, where I think he worked at a greeting card company or something, where they would handwrite like greeting cards and send them out. Like that's a very human experience, right? It was a human that in a very AI-driven world back in the future there. That's where we're headed, I think. So
I don't know if you remember this, but there used to be this commercial where the owner said, I just spoke to one of my customers by phone, and what we need to do is go out and shake each customer's hand one by one. And he handed plane tickets to each one of his salespeople that they needed to go out and actually reconnect with and this was in I think the 70s or the 80s. And it must have been the 80s, because people have been using the phone much more so. And this was actually even before we had telepresence. And it's fascinating that we're in a situation now where it's not even about getting on a plane. People don't talk about, I'm going to get on a plane and come to see you, client. It's about, hey, when can we schedule a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting? Because, we need to reconnect.
Yeah. I think the other thing is AI is going to do is that it's going to create companies in the future are going to be smaller companies as far as humans go. Right? You can have much more use technology more to assist the workers, meaning you can have less workers. So you can have much smaller teams, I think, in the future. That's definitely going to happen, but it's not going to replace them entirely. So
Scary stuff. Lots of scary stuff.
We've seen peak recruiter staffing at this point, I think, and probably HR too.
Yeah. Well, maybe when we get into the conversation we were going to have that really kind of boiled me at the beginning, which was Bolt.com CEO coming out and saying that he fired all of his HR team and created people ops instead. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah. I worked for a company, as I told you, that didn't have HR department. They made finance do all the onboarding paperwork and stuff like that. And that owner of that company he apparently didn't believe in it or didn't care. Or a lot of times it's those leadership egos who think they can do without it. So
back in the early 90s, when I worked for an investment bank, they tried to rebrand HR to become the Office of Development. Because the HR leader they brought in said, HR is not working for us. We're going to become the Office of Development so we can develop all of our people. Didn't change any of our jobs. We were the Office of Development. And I worked for the London Office of Development. And so you know what our acronym was?
What?
LUDE.
There used to be a TV show called Human Resources. Did you ever see that?
No, I didn't.
I saw it on a plane once. It was on like the Delta. Go look up on YouTube. It's kind of funny. I would at some point that for the AI era. That would be funny.
At some point, the HR Data Doodles can become a TV show on the HR channel, and it'll be first round on the HR channel. So go to the hrchannel.tv. But no, we're going to actually have the HR Data Doodles, and it's going to be comedy around human resources. I mean, there'll be some drama, I imagine, but mostly comedy.
Nice.
So maybe we can get some applicant tracking stories from you.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you very much for being on the HR Data Labs podcast. We appreciate you.
Yeah, David, appreciate you having me, and thanks a lot.
All right. Talk to you. Take care and stay safe.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the HR Data Labs podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share it with your network. You can also check out the recordings on Spotify or the HR channel, now on Roku and Fire TV. Thank you, take care, and stay safe.